So it's written by the team who wrote Fiddler on the Roof, and Fiorello, which came first. But obviously Fiddler on the Roof is the one we all know and love. So She Loves Me it's set in a perfumery shop in Budapest. It's actually set in the 30s, but I'm going to set it in the 50s. Because it doesn't make any difference. As long as we haven't got new technology, it'll work.
Was Jane filming?
Oh, she was.
I'm filming on my.
Are you doing it?
Yes.
Oh, right.
I'm sorry, I'm absolutely interrupted.
Shall I go?
Yeah, I'll go and find it.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Sorry. So we'll rewind. No one else leave, no one else move. Stop. So She Loves Me is written by the same team who wrote Fiddler on the Roof, and it's a very much smaller kind of intimate feel than Fiddler on the Roof, and it's set in a perfumery shop in Budapest. It's actually in the 30s, but we're setting it in the 50s for our production, and you have a number of characters, but I thought I'd tell you the story first of all. So, spoiler alert, you'll get to know what happens at the end. It's a happy ending. So, we first meet the staff from the perfumery, and they all meet and say, what a lovely day, isn't it a shame we can't go on a picnic instead of standing behind the counter and selling cosmetics. And then the shop's open for business. And in come, one after another, 3 female customers who all sing, and there's a wonderful opening scene after we've had the wonderful main scene, I suppose you could say, in the shop, where each of they're called clerks, are speaking to their own customer, but you hear different snippets, so it makes no sense to what's going on, and so it's very funny. And the customers, and there's a thing that they do every time a customer leaves the shop is all the clerks stand and sing, thank you, please come again, thank you, in harmony. So there's a lot of realism apart from that, really. And then you find out that George, who's obviously been at Mr. Marichek's perfumery for about 14 years, is the manager, and he is writing pen letters to a dear friend. So if you've seen the film You've Got Mail, You've Got Mail is based on the book that this is also based on, the shop around the corner. So you'll know what happens in the end. Anyway, he's writing, and they're lovely letters, and they discuss literature, and really lovely, and they're arranged to meet, so he's really quite nervous. They're really corresponding to one another. And we see the character of each of the clerks. So you've got a delivery boy who zips around with his bike, Arcad, and then you've got Sikos, who's just desperate to hold on to his job. He's just a sort of stalwart of the shop. Then you have Stephen Kudai, who's a bit of a Lothario, we find out. And then you have Miss Ritter, who tends to be on the till. And it's clear that she's having an affair with Mr. Kudai, as Arpad, our delivery boy, points out. She's wearing the same dress she was wearing yesterday. Tonight, Mr. Kudai. And then Mr. Marichek, who's the owner of the shop. And then in comes someone we think is a customer, who then speaks to George, our manager, and says, could you speak to Miss Radcliffe? And he says, no, I'm sure I can help you. And he tries to sell her all sorts of perfumes and cosmetics. She said, no, I really do need to speak to Mr. Radcliffe. Then Mr. Radcliffe comes in from his office and says, oh, George, why can't you handle this yourself? And she asks him for a job. So she's been made redundant in another perfumery. And they both say to her, no, we haven't got any jobs. Just before that's happened, Marichette has presented to George a new product for his purchase, which is a musical cigarette box. Made of leather. And they have a bet that they won't sell one in a day. Marichette said, we will. And George said, we won't. Anyway, this is all going on then, and another customer comes in, and Mr. Marichette is trying to sell the cigarette box to her. Isn't this lovely? Listen to this, it's beautiful. And then Amalia takes over and sells the cigarette box. So George is really quite hacked off, shall we say, and Mr. Marichette hires Amalia. So then there's another scene where, you know, you can tell they are really not getting on with this pair. George feels a bit threatened by Amalia, and they have this thing where she gets really pissed off. It keeps calling her Miss Amalia Bosh. So then we hear that then Amalia was talking to Miss Ritter in the storeroom and saying, I've been corresponding with dear friend, and we're due to meet. It's very exciting. And Miss Richard just says, yes, well, be careful, dear, because I got into real trouble and I knew his name. So we hear a bit about Miss Richard. Then Mr. Marichette hears that George is going to a restaurant, and they'll be dancing, and Marichette sings his big song, which is when I was young, I was great at dancing, and George says, I can't put one foot in front of the other, and Mr. Marichette makes him dance, and they all the club have a bit of a dance. But it's not a sort of choreographed dance number, it's much more about, you know, everyone sees each other and do it. And Seagull sings his song, which is about, you know, I need to hang on to this job, and you know, I'm just a little speck in the universe. And in between this, you get more customers coming in and out, and then thank you, please come again, anyway, it's let me think how this works. So then we're kind of building up for them to leave work for the restaurant date. And Amalia sings this gorgeous song, which is really lovely. And off she goes to the restaurant. And then George has an interaction with Mr. Marichette. So Mr. Marichette, during some of the selling seasons, he's getting more and more pissed off to make time and why. And in the end, they have a massive row, and George resigns. So he's resigned, but he's got to go and meet dear friend in the evening. So there's a lovely scene, and this will be the audition piece for the three customers, lady customers, with the clerks, where the customers are singing their usual tune of buying things, and the clerks are saying goodbye George. But in sort of counterpoint, 2-part harmony, 3-part harmony. Anyway, then we get to the restaurant. No, before we get to the restaurant, before we get to the restaurant, they're all doing the Christmas decorations, that's right. They're doing Christmas decorations, and Mr. Marichette comes down and says, it's okay, you can go home. Thank you for all staying late, but you can go home now. Now, Kudai and Miss Ritter were all due to go for their own little date, but suddenly Kudai says, "Oh, in that case, I'm so sorry, Elena, I can't go out with you tonight." And rushes off. So Elena sings a song that, you know, I knew I couldn't trust him as an absolute snake, and that would be the audition piece for her. Anyway, when they went, so they'd all gone, they're really pleased because they thought they were going to stay late to do Christmas decorations. And into the shop, because it's gone dark now, the shop's closed, comes a man called Keller. It turns out he's a private investigator. And he's been keeping an eye on Mr. Marichek's wife. This is why Mr. Marichek has been so antsy with George, because he suspected George was having an affair with his wife. Anyway, Keller says we've completed our investigations, and says yes, we've been keeping an eye, and you know, what do you want to do about Mr. Kudai? And Marichek goes, Mr. Kudai? So it was the guy who's having an affair with Ilona, not George who's having the affair with the wife. So he really is a Lothario. So he's got two of them, Marichek's wife and Ilona, going on at the same time. and George has resigned, but he was a completely innocent party. So Keller goes, all goes dark, then we hear a shot. And Arpad happened to be coming back into the shop. And Mr. Marichek, because Marichek has shot himself. Now we get to the restaurant. So the scene outside the restaurant is Seapost goes with George, because George is feeling really nervous, so Seapost is accompanying him. And Seapost is sent in to the restaurant to look for the woman who's sitting on her own with a table, with a copy of War and Peace, I think, and a red rose. No, Anna Karenina, it's a copy of Anna Karenina and a red rose sitting on her own. And so Seapost sort of puts his head around the corner of the restaurant and looks, and then there's a brilliant piece of dialogue, which is the audition piece for Seapost, which is how he's saying, "It's funny, she reminds me of someone. She's very attractive. Almost someone in the shop." And George says, "Well, who?" And he says, "Oh, Miss Barge. I thought she said attractive." So then George puts his head round the door and goes, "Oh my God, it's her!" Meanwhile, Amalia has been in the restaurant, and she was greeted by the head waiter, who has his own song. This is called the Cafe Imperial. And the waiter sings a song about, you know, every now and again we get the wrong crowd. And this is where all the chorus are piling in their pairs, beautifully dressed up for a fun evening, and being very rowdy. And it's supposed to be this really elegant, sedate place, and it of course isn't. And there are waiters, and we could have waitresses as well, who keep dropping trays and keep getting shouted at. And they do have a choreographed dance number with not much tray dropping. And then, so Amalia hopefully will be sitting up higher on her table with her rose and drinking wine and getting drunk because she hasn't eaten since noon. Then there's a whole set piece where two people dance a tango, and there's a scene that I put in with my assistant director in 2001 with the most brilliant gags in it, which we will be making. Why reinventing the wheel that first time round? So it takes a while for us to actually have the scene between George and Amalia. Anyway, George goes in and spins a whole yarn about having spoken to someone outside. And they have this really cross conversation where he's really, really winding her up. And said, "Oh, are you meeting someone? You know, I had a friend, you know, who met someone she didn't know. You don't know him, do you? You had a friend and a really don't know, do you? And I had a friend who, well, they found her body in the river the next day. So and then she gets so wrapped up that she sings a song about if you say one more word, I'll scream. And of course the head waiter comes up and says, you can't do these things, you can't do this is a great place, you know, I have to ask you both to leave. And then George steps in and says, she's screaming because she found a fly in her wine. Anyway, he goes, the restaurant crowd disappear, and Amalia is left, speaks to the head waiter who has found the rose that's dropped on the floor somewhere and is about to hand it back to her and realises that your gentleman friend isn't coming. So he hides it. So turns out it's quite nice, really. And he says, you know, I'm afraid we are closing, and I'm sure it will work out for him. She sings a lovely song, and that's the end of that one. And she, you know, it's a bit sad. So that's the end of that one. Act 2 opens in a hospital room. Turns out Marichek was in really poor shot and shot himself in the shoulder. And the scene opens with Arcad running in and saying, I'm back, I've done all the errands you asked me to do. There's a nurse feeding Marichek, who doesn't really like the food, so he sends her away. And Arcad, and this is Arcad's, who needs to be a young guy, you know, sort of late teens, early 20s, and can ride a bike. And he says, you know, we're clocked down now that we've got George. You should try me out. I've really been learning all the stock. I know how to do it all. And sings one of my favourite songs all the time. It's a great opening. It's a lovely, lovely song. And they say, try me. And so, they do what you call a role play. Sell me the space for Marichek says he'll hire him. And it's a lovely last line of that scene where he says, Arcad, I don't think I've ever known your last name, because now you're a clerk, we have to call you Mr. He says, yes, it's Laszlo. Mr. Laszlo. And Marichek says, thank you, Arcad, I'll see you tomorrow. So, then the next scene is Amalia's bedroom, because funnily enough, she's got a hangover. And there's a knock on the door, and it's George. And he's come, and she assumes, so she's in her pyjamas and her dressing gown, and she's scurrying around saying, you've come to check up on me, haven't you? I know I'm late for work, but I'll get ready now. And she sings a song, where's my other shoe? Help me find my other shoe. And he puts her back to bed and says, you're not well, it's okay, take your time, it'll be right. Then there's a whole scene which is divine, and that will be the audition piece for the two of them, because it's a great, really funny acting scene where he describes that he'd spoken to a guy outside the restaurant, but he'd had to leave on business. Oh, on business? Do you think he's a manufacturer? You know, and so, and again, he's making it all up, isn't it? That's all this George. And then he says, yes, well, he looked well fed. So how old do you think he was? Well, if he'd had some hair. But George has brought her vanilla ice cream, which is the really famous song from She Must Be the One, the two really famous songs from She Must Be. So George goes and says, look, come tomorrow, make sure you're feeling better. I've been reinstated, I'm back at the shop. So come back tomorrow. Because Marichek he had a quick scene with Marichek in the hospital as well, and Marichek apologised. He's back. And then Amalia sings her vanilla ice cream. You know, she starts writing a letter to dear friend. I am so sorry about last night. It was a nightmare in every way. And then she goes, so she's getting dear friend over here, and George with his ice cream over here, and doing the two. And so it's a lovely scene, and a super song. And then George has his big number, which is "She Loves Me," which is a great song because you can do it on the floor in the theatre while you change the scenery back to the shop. But I remembered that song from my childhood, being in the charts, I think. Am I right? From a certain age? Yeah, of course, isn't it? Yeah. So I, I thought, maybe am I? And then we're back to the shop. And Kadai is fired in front of him. And does this sort of really arrogant farewell, and talks about how he's going to be taking over the shop, obviously because he's going off with Mrs. Birkbeck. And they're all very pleased to see him go. Now, meanwhile, Ilona, obviously heartbroken that she's been too tired and stood up and whatever, has found herself walking, weirdly, to the library. As you do. Because in the 50s there were lots of libraries. And she got to the library, didn't know what to do, and she was surrounded by books, and she's not a very bookish kind of girl. And then this gentle voice behind her says, "Can I help you?" So they introduce themselves to each other, and he selects a book, and they go out together, and he reads to her all night long. And he's an optometrist. We never meet the optometrist, except we do, because I put a gag in. But she's met an optometrist, and now she's discovered the magic of books. And so she's sorted. And then we have really what's the final scene, which is running up to Christmas. We've got the Christmas decorations up for some reason or other. They got put up even though they all got sent home in the interval. So there's various bits of dialogue, and then you have the big 12 Days to Christmas song, which if you ever listen to my radio show, you'll know if I do the Christmas show, it's inevitably going to be on there because it's the obvious one. And it's building up to Christmas, so you've got all the customers coming in, and it gets more and more manic as you get closer to Christmas. And in between each section, George and Amalia are getting closer. I wondered if I could walk you to the bus stop. I wondered if I could buy you a cup of coffee. And in the end, she invites him to spend Christmas with her and her mother because dear friend will be there. And I might not know what to say, so you can help me. And it's a brilliant scene for the chorus because you've got things like you've got all your female customers, and every female customer will have their own character. We'll have the one who is really, really demanding and posh, and we'll have the one who was really, really honest and really scatty one. But now we see their husbands as well, who will be, sitting and reading newspapers or reading, and we'll have a male customer who has absolutely no idea what to buy, but it's got a really, really long list. So great some extra things. When I did it in 2001, we had a 12-year-old girl in it. And she often came in with one of the female customers as the daughter, and she ends up putting all the makeup all over her face and dancing in the middle while they're all doing all of this. We'll find out what this one because we don't want to show. I intend to use the husbands like I use the daughter to add extra sort of stuff. So the husbands will be there, bored stiff and thinking about how much money she's spending now. So then it's all about Amalia says to George, okay, so you come home for Christmas, and I bought dear friend a gift. Do you think you'll like it? She's bought it a musical cigarette box. and I can't quite remember how it transpires that they go, it's you, isn't it? You know, I hope that they sing this lovely duet. I hope that it was you. It's a repeated musical thing. It's very, very lovely. So repeated musical thing. And that's it. And they go off hand in hand. So it's a lovely, lovely, lovely story. Lots of dialogue that's really very, very funny. And moves at a pace. Lots of lovely songs and lots of character work for the chorus. You know, we've got. So let me talk about chorus first. So we've got 3 customers who sing, female customers who sing, and they have 2 sets of songs, always the same song, but lots of words. Some individuals. Then we've got potentially 2 more female customers who have dialogue. But if we don't have enough, obviously it can be the same concept. And then we also have female roles. We need a hand check girl at the restaurant. I want to put in someone doing nails in the second act. So you know, I like to populate it with reality. And my new gag for this one is I would like to have a female down and out, sitting outside the shop. And I'm working out all sorts of gags just for the female down and out. And I haven't quite got them all, and I'm going to keep them secret. But anyway, so although if there's no relation to the story, it's a street scene, so why not? So there'll be all sorts of great stuff to do. So anyone who doesn't want to sing or wants to sit down for the whole show, that would be great. But also, because of this, thank you, please come again. I want her to sing it from outside because she's hearing it every day. And I will have also, so that's the females. I also, for the tango, there's this tango trend that happens in the restaurant. So we do need a male and female pair of dancers, but they also get a secret gag. So that's that. That's them. That's all the female chorus. Male chorus. We've got waiters. I have a newspaper man who will have interactions with my dad and aunt. And then we've got husbands. And we can always make one of the customers a man scattered throughout it. And then you've got the big scene in the restaurant and then the 12 days to Christmas. So that's the male chorus. Then, male parts, so to speak. You've got the head from small to big. I'll stop digging. Right, we've got Keller, who doesn't sing. It's just one scene, the private detective. But he will obviously be in the restaurant scene because we'll need lots and lots of people in that scene. Then we have the head waiter. Who, in my previous production, I doubled as Father Christmas to come into the shop from the 12 Days of Christmas. He has a song, there's some dialogue, and generally one big scene. Then you have Arcad, who's our youngster, who rides a bike, and is every time we're in the shop, he's around doing stuff. He's also got a car, but he's carrying the boxes and tidying up. And then in the second one, he's in a suit, he's selling. But he has his big song. We have Seacross, who can be any age, preferably older, who wants to hang on to his job. And he's the one who does the dialogue. And then we have Stephen Kudai, really, really old, although it could be really, really old, but that would be really weird if it was Stephen King. Nobody has a very young wife. So it's another great show because most of the characters are middle-aged, which is helpful. So Stephen Guy, so it's nice if he looks good in a hat. There's lots of stuff with hats. Then there's Marichek, who has his song and a number of quite small scenes. He's sort of, he needs to go to acts. And then we have George, and it's a huge part. Needs to be able to sing. He has about five songs in duets, and needs to be able to remember dialogue. And then our other two females are Ilona, who has 2 songs, and needs to be not well educated, but not very knowing. She's a bit naive, but without being simple. So she's sort of because she's having a wall pulled over her eyes, basically. But she's not a real romantic. But so it's an interesting part to do, and obviously she was her optometrist. So I've got a gap opposite at the end. I mean, the optometrist is the other male chorus person who will be outside when they're all leaving the shop for Christmas with his big glasses on, and she will fish her glasses out of her bag and a book. Go and be her optometrist. And then Amalia Barge, who needs to really be able to sing, because Vanilla Ice Cream is quite a song, as are a couple of the others, and lots and lots of dialogue.
I think our parts are lower, going to be a lower voice, would you say?
Ilona's lower. So in a way, it's about, because the age ranges can shift, it's about matching people up so that it makes sense in terms of the drama. Yeah, so we might, so we've got